big news for the Browns this week. Something I think we've been kind of like just waiting for. Like, you knew it had to be coming. There's no way we were going to not see extensions for guys like Andrew Berry and Kevin Stefanski. But the longer it went, it was like, what's going on? Why are we waiting so long? We haven't got the details yet on on either one's contract, but we know that they're not going anywhere anytime soon. Both of them have signed extensions. If I had to guess, it's at least 3 to 4 years.
Yes, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, you would think.
So I know there's a contingent of the Browns fan base out there who, for some reason, thinks we shouldn't have done this. Since these guys have taken over, they've gone 37-30. They've reached the postseason twice. Kevin Stefanski's been Coach of the Year twice. We have one of the better rosters in football. I know everybody thinks that you're just supposed to win the Super Bowl every single year. Turns out that doesn't happen. There's other good coaches who haven't won the Super Bowl yet. Dan Campbell hasn't won a Super Bowl yet, but I bet you all the people who shit on Kevin Stefanski, they probably love Dan Campbell. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So turns out what it is they've shown there's consistency in leadership, in one vision, and for the first time in a long time, we're far from the laughing stock of the league anymore. Okay, over the last 4 years, I did an episode about this where we have the second best winning percentage in division. So against other AFC North teams, arguably the toughest division in football, we have the second best record behind the Steelers. We have a better in division record than the Ravens and the Bengals in the last 4 years since these guys have taken over. So they're taking care of business in the division. People will say, well, you haven't won the division yet. Well, we can't help it that other people can't beat the Steelers or the Ravens. We beat them. Okay.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's interesting, too, just as a quick aside, last year we split with every team in our division. But if you think about the games we lost to them, the Steelers, the Nick Chubb injury, we were winning that game until the very end. And then the Ravens that we lost to them, it was DTR's first ever last-minute start.
Yes.
And then the Bengals, we lost to them on a throwaway game that we weren't even playing starters.
Correct.
So really splitting with the AFC North last year isn't really splitting with them.
Yeah, I mean, like, obviously injuries and stuff are part of the game, but there's some pretty extreme circumstances that help lead to some of those losses. Like, you're probably not going to win a game with DTR starting with 25 minutes heads up.
Right.
Mm-hmm. It's a little bit deflating when your all-world running back, center of the locker room leader goes down on a gruesome leg injury. At the time, you're thinking...
And he was tearing them up.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yes. It completely changed the complexion of the game. Deshaun was obviously still, like, getting his legs under him. Like, he was struggling, but we were controlling the game with Nick Chubb. Yep. And it's just deflating it's a time of Nick Chubb's injury in that game. Watching it on TV, I'm like, he might not ever play football again.
Yeah.
That is tough to overcome on the sidelines. So, like you said, obviously, I don't want to make excuses. Losses are losses, but there's also context to things, like you said. In the Bengals game, I mean, I don't even remember who the quarterback was.
Jeff Driscoll.
You know what I mean?
QB5 on the season.
He was on the team. Yeah. He was on the team for 6 days.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? So, so these guys have come in. They've completely changed the culture. We asked guys in the locker room last year, like, well, what do you think of Kevin Stefanski? They love him.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
You know what I mean? That great guy. They know he's all about the business, but he knows that he goes about things the right way. He knows he has the players' backs, and I think he's shown a willingness to adapt and grow as a coach and as a leader. Like, it's not easy to fire Joe Woods, a guy that he's known for a long time. His guy. It's not easy to fire Alex Van Pelt. Those are tough decisions that you have to make. It's not easy to bring in a Ken Dorsey who's going to completely change the offense away from what you've known your entire career and where you might be giving up play calling duties because of it. But he's done all these things. And the fact that he managed to keep us on track through all the injuries last year, and even if you go back further, like, how many coaches have we had in our lives where we had a good season and then you come back and you struggle? Baker gets hurt early, and we really struggle in that season, don't live up to expectations. And then it would have fallen off the rails. Yep. You know what I mean? And instead, he bounces right back with another Coach of the Year season, another playoff berth, and he does it with 20-some% of the roster on IR.
Yeah. You're absolutely right. Some of these stats, and you were talking about, they have that 37-30, so that's a .552 win percentage. since AB and Stefanski took over, it's the highest winning percentage for the team over a 4-year stretch since back in 86 to 89. So it has been a long time. And I'm pretty sure Nick Carnes on Twitter posted that the Browns have won more games in the last 4 years than the previous 8 years combined. And we have the 2 playoff appearances in the last 4 years are more than the last 20 years combined.
Yep.
Yes.
I believe that.
So, again, I understand, like, I've been on the record saying you don't want to settle for just better than you used to be, but we're not settling for better. We've been, like, I've also talked about this, we have more 11-win seasons than all but 3 teams.
Yes.
Since they've taken over. Like, there's been obvious growth and turnaround of the franchise. So it's now if he gets to the end of this contract and we still only have 1 playoff win, now you can start talking about, like, what do we need to do?
Yeah.
But at this current state, he's one of the best coaches in football right now. And Andrew Berry is clearly one of the best young GMs. Not only in terms of like recognizing talent. Some people like to crap on for his drafts, but he's found first-round talent in 3rd and 4th rounds. And look at what he does in free agency. He legally robs people.
Well, and that's the context you're talking about earlier too, with like the games. The context with how he builds the team, I think, I don't want to say a lot of fans, but there's definitely a large section of the fan base that doesn't understand that what he does in free agency and with the trades, that means that with the draft, we're not drafting for starters.
Nope.
Now, do we get some starters through the drafts? Sure. That's awesome. Like you said, we get Martin Emerson's, we get DeJuan Jones's, we get some of these guys later, but we don't have to, because how he can build a team means, okay, now you go into the draft. We talked about it this whole offseason. Depth and development, and that's exactly what they did.
Yep. I don't know how you guys feel, but for me, it was more of like not an if thing, but like a when thing. How long were we going to have to wait? I think Blake touched on it, and it was like the biggest point of the whole thing is there was stability for once. Like in my entire life, we've looked for every 2-3 years, there's a turnaround. We're new coach, new GM, we're starting over. At least I can say for once in my life, there's stability at the head coaching position and at the general manager position, and it's kind of a relief. I don't ever wonder going into it's nice. I go, hey, well, we're going to take the best player available or whatever. We're not looking for starters anymore. Like we have to hit this pick or we're going to be a dumpster fire. So very, very deserved extension.
And I know June 1st is an important date in terms of like the league year. You know, there's the pre-June 1st cuts and trades and the post. I don't know if the June 1st date had anything to do with these extensions or, you know, if there was a benefit to waiting until after June 1st to sign these guys. But it just, whenever it came like right in early June, it's like maybe they had something to do with it. I don't know for sure, but it's just a little speculation.
Yep.
And like you guys have said about the draft too, turns out if you're needing to hit on Brian Rubisky and Muhammad Massaquoi, and you need them to be day one contributors and starters, you've taken a wrong turn somewhere.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Very good.
Yes. So the fact that, like you guys have said, we are going into Andrew Berry's drafts. Yes, we haven't had first round picks because of the Deshaun trade, but we're getting guys like was that JOK? Was that Andrew Berry's first draft?
Yes.
Yeah. So we're getting guys like JOK. We got Newsome in the first when he did have a first round pick. Turns out he's pretty good.
No, that was the second draft.
Was that a second draft?
The first one would have been Wills and Grant Delpit.
That's fair.
So the second draft would have been
now,
Newsome
obviously,
and JOK.
Yeah, Wills. Who's Wills?
Jed Wills.
Oh, Jed Wills. I was thinking Greedy Williams at first. And I was like, did you say the wrong name? But no. So, like you said, very deserved. I'm very excited to see what they do. I think you've seen a lot of growth out of Kevin, too, like when it comes to his like social skills, I guess, in terms of with the team. Like he's early in his career, I feel like he was maybe slightly robotic. I think I've called him an engineer before, where he's like very smart, but he doesn't relate well to the people. And I think you've seen a lot of growth with him over even the last year. He's shown a lot more emotion on the sidelines, and this feels genuine. There are people early that just want him to be freaking out just so our coach could be freaking out. And I was like, I don't want him to be fake freaking out.
Right.
I want him to be himself. And you know what I mean? And I think like you've seen him He's showing some more emotion. He's getting a little chirpy at times if there's a bad call. And I think he shows up to Deshaun's restaurant opening. He's been on the McAfee show. Like, you're seeing him like kind of come out of his shell a little bit. And I think the sky's the limit for Kevin Stefanski and Andrew Berry.
Well, and he just did his youth camp in Cleveland Brown Stadium this past week, and Deshaun Watson came to that. So it's just cool to see those two obviously build that relationship and continue to support each other. Like you said on the podcast with Deshaun and everything, it was just fun to see that little bit behind the scenes banter and a little more depth of the relationship than what we don't get the behind the scenes in the locker room type views, obviously, as fans. So it's cool to see that every now and again when it's available.
Yeah. So, I don't have anything else to say about it. I think until we get some details, I'll be very curious.
Yeah, no details yet.
So, I don't know, like, why the secrecy?
Like, didn't you just say maybe they haven't officially signed yet? Maybe that's why.
I don't know. They announced them, but I don't know. Maybe they got to cross some I's and dot some T's.
Yeah, who knows?
So I don't know, but so I'm very excited. Let us know what you guys think about the extensions for AB and Kevin.